Okay, in this video, it goes with the worksheet entitled Visualizing Data. They're going to ask you to create some graphs. And so basically, I'm going to go through the worksheet with you. There are basically two problems per each type. We'll talk about one of the problems and kind of set it up so that you can do the other one on your own. The first two problems on the worksheet, they ask you to draw a dot plot. And a dot plot is a simple way of taking a number line and using the dots on that number line to create frequencies. Okay, so on question number 2, you see it's entitled Hours Slept. We have those 16 numbers that we need to fill in and graph. So underneath here, I'm going to draw a line, and it looks like the numbers on this in this data go from the number 4 to the number 9. So I'm going to sketch those out and try to, and I don't know if I left myself much room here. Okay, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and I'm going to label them underneath. Okay, now just go through the list one at a time and take the numbers, okay, and create dots above those numbers everywhere you see one. So the first one starts off with a 7, okay, and then you have a 4, and then 6, 7, 9, 7, 6, 7, etc. So there's the first line of numbers put on the graph. And I didn't really give myself enough room here, so I got 3 more 7s to put on, and that's going to kind of bump me up a little bit high toward the top. But you get the idea, okay? So create the number line, label the number line, and put dots above each number representing the numbers in the table, okay? So that's how you do a dot plot, okay? Questions 3 and 4, you're asked to do a stem and leaf. Now, number 3 has only 2-digit numbers. Okay, so that shouldn't be too bad because all you're going to do is put the numbers on the left. The first digit's going to go in the stem, and the ones digit is going to go in the leaf, and then you're just going to list those out. Okay. However, the other numbers, okay, these are 6-digit numbers. We have large U.S. cities. They have their populations. Okay. There are different ways you could do this, but here's how they chose to simplify this. They rounded each one of these to 2 decimal places. Okay. So for Boston, they rounded to 620,000. Okay, that's going to translate to a line and a 2. Okay, so we have the 100,000s is our first digit, and then the remaining 10,000s, okay, is going to be the second digit. So we're rounding to that second digit in each one of those. Okay, for Gilbert, I'm going to use 210,000. For Stockton, I'm going to round that up to 300,000. And for Austin, I'll use 790,000. Okay, so continue that process. There's Seattle, Richmond, so for Richmond, I'm gonna use 200,000, Scottsdale, 220,000, Portland is 580,000. Okay, and then again, same thing with the other ones. Irving, Santa Ana, Fort Worth, San Francisco, then we've got our last three: Washington, D.C., Columbus, and Aurora. Okay, so now when you look at the first digits of all of these numbers, okay, looks like my smallest number is a 2, okay, and then it's going to go from 2 to 8. Looks like 8 is my biggest. Okay, so when I sketch out my stem and leaf now, make this bar. Okay, here's my stem. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now I can start counting them out here. The first one I have is a 200,000 up here at Richmond. Okay, so that would be a 2 and a 0. Okay, and then I'm going to space over. Gilbert up there is 210,000, so a 2 and a 1. And I have 2 that are 220, so a 2 and a 2 twice. Checking those off up here. And that appears to be all under the 200s, the 2s. So searching for 3s, I have a 300,000, a 320,000, and a 330,000. Okay? Under 4s, there aren't any. So I can leave that row blank. But I still need to show the 4 there. I want to keep my consistency in case other data were to be added later. Under 5, I've got a 580. Looks like that's 580,000. Under 6s, I have a 600,000, so a 0. A 610,000, so 1. And a 620,000, so there's a 2. Under 7s, I have a 740,000. Okay, 740,000, so 790,000. There's two of those. And my last number is 810,000. So it looks like that. Okay, so like I said, you won't have to worry about rewriting all the numbers and rounding them on number 3. The tenths digit, digit is going to be your stem. The leafs are your the ones digit, the units digit, and make sure. So the last thing I want to do is I had 15 cities, so let's make sure I got 15 numbers here. And I do. There's 15 numbers, so there is your chart. So number 3 will look very similar to that one. Now, if you want to, you can put down your code. So your key down here, for example, like the first one we did, okay, line 2, we know equals 620,000. So that's a way of explaining what happens in that, how that thing is set up for us. Okay, box and whisker. 5 and 6 are box and whisker graphs. And on these box and whiskers, okay, I need some numbers. I need to do what's called a 5-number summary, okay, of those. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. I'm going to use number 6 as my example here. Okay, shoot, they didn't give them to me in order. It'd been nice if they would have. Okay, yours on, no, they're not that way either. Yeah, they are. On number 5, yours are already in order. Okay, they're in order from least to greatest. That's perfect. Okay, on number 6, not so much. Okay, so here are my numbers. I'm going to put them in order and list them out. So my youngest one is 42. So 42, 47, 49. Those are all my 40s. I've got a 50 and 3 51s. 52, 54, 2 54s, 55, 57, 60, 61, 64, and that might be all of them. So I've got 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, so I'm missing a couple. Let me find those real quick here. So 42, 3, 4. Oh, got an extra 49 to stick in there. Okay. Missing a 50. Oh, there's another 55. Okay, so there they are. There are my numbers. Okay, so to do a box and whiskers, I need a minimum, a maximum. I need Q1, Q2, and Q3. Now, Q1, Q2, and Q3 are the quartile scores. The Q2, we also call that the median. Okay, now Q1 is the lower quartile, meaning it's the quartile of the lower half. The upper quartile is the quartile of the upper half. Okay, so now I just need to find those numbers and I can create a picture. Okay, so the minimum is 42. The maximum is 64. The lower, so let's find the second quartile. Since there are 17 numbers, okay, you split that up into 8 and 8 and 1 in the middle. So the ninth number, there's my ninth number right there. Okay, so the 52 is my median. You take the lower half and the 4 and 4, there's 2 in the middle. So my lower quartile, when you take, because it's even, you take the two middle numbers, you add them together and divide by 2. This is 49.5. Okay, here, take the two middle numbers, 55 and 57, add them together and divide by 2, and you get 56. So there's what you need to do in box and whiskers. So I'm going to, and I'm just going to sketch this out. You don't need to be perfect with this. Okay, something like, okay, the minimum goes down here at one whisker. The maximum goes up here at the other whisker. Okay, the start of the box is your first quartile, 49.5. Okay, the upper quartile is your top edge of the box, and your median, you draw a line right about in the middle. Okay, there's your middle quartile. Okay, now you could space this out and do this much more uniformly, you know, but again, all I want you to do is find, this is called the 5-number summary. Find your 5 numbers, okay? Draw a picture of this box and whiskers and fill those numbers into the appropriate spots, okay? And like I said, the one that you have is already set up in order for you, so you should be able to determine your min and max and all of those quartiles just by looking at the numbers and counting off between them. Okay, so it should be, that one should be a little bit easier. Okay, lastly, you're doing histograms. A histogram is just a bar graph with no spaces in between. Okay, so I'll show you how this one, number 8, was set up and show you what it looks like. But again, it's just going to be a matter of taking the information and putting it to the graph. So here's what they did. Okay. So here's my graph. Okay. Along the bottom, Here they labeled well, they started actually right here because this was the smallest, okay? And then they went in intervals of 5, okay? And here's the question they asked, and they went all the way out here to 55. They needed to for the data, okay? So how many animals had a life expectancy from 5 to 10? Okay, so they went up there and, or it's actually between 5 and 10, and they said that, well, there's only one animal. That's the bee. Okay, so one animal had lived within this life expectancy. Okay, so they drew this bar like that. Okay, so, sorry. Keep forgetting that the screen's kind of magnified here. So here is the life expectancy. Here are the number of animals within that. Okay, so in this next example, then 10 to 15, so I want to include 10. Yeah, I want to go from 10 to 15. So when I count those, okay, a cottontail, a banded turtle, a grouse, prairie dog, okay, they didn't include the one started at 10, but they basically went up to 14. They considered 15 to be part of the next group. So when you count anything that includes 10 but less than 15, there are 5 of them. Okay, so from 10 to 15, we have 5. Okay, the next group starts at 15, okay, and goes to but does not include 20. So in this example, I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, next group starts at 20 and is less than 25. There are 2. Okay, 25 starts at 25 but less than 30. There's 1. From 30 to 35, there are none. 35 to 40, there's 1 there in that group. 40 to 45, there are 2. And then 45 to 50, none again. 50 to 55, there's 1. Okay, so that's what your histogram should look like, okay? For this one, when you do number 70, or 7, sorry, when you set it up, here's the scale that they used, and you can fill in from there, okay? So along the bottom is the days of maturity, average time. So they started at 40, and they went by tens. And they went all the way out to 130. Okay, they went all the way out to 130. Now, again, now we're going to pick out how many are within that group. Okay, so it starts at the first one, but it's going to be just less than the second one. Starts here, less than here. Starts here, less than here, etc. And so for the very first one, when you look through and count them up, you should get 3. And those bars again are right next to each other. The only time there's going to be spaces in between the bars is if there's nothing there in between them, which will happen again on this graph. Okay, so that's all you got. You're going to just make some graphs for me. Please make them as neat as you can. I don't expect perfection. I don't expect you to use a ruler. I certainly didn't. But take the time to label them neatly and draw them neatly so that, it's something that you can show me you took a little time to do, not just threw it together and turned it in. Okay? Simple as that. Okay. That's it for this video and this worksheet. So thank you from there.